Danse, wapastim sikaso. So my name's Whitehorse, and today, since we're going to be learning about the 13 moons within Nihiawi Wind, and as well learning about the solstices, it's always fitting to start with a legend. So I'm going to share with you now the legend that's been passed down from generation to generation about our cycles of night and day, and our moon cycles, and our solstices. So as Nihiawak, we are told that Kayas long ago that we had our Musum, which is Bisam, was his name, son, and his job was to take care of a large fire, the fire that brings us the heat and the light over our land and over our earth. And this grandfather, this Musum, would carefully watch this fire and keep it going and make sure that we're getting enough heat. And at that time, the heat never really changed, so it was sort of like it was always daylight, and the heat always stayed the same, the light always stayed the same, because that was this Musum, that was his job, to take care of the light and the heat, to take care of us. Finally, it came to a point when this Musum, this grandfather, was getting really old and tired, and he was thinking it's time to pass this job on to somebody younger. So he thought, well, I have two grandchildren, Nosimsak, my grandchildren, that are, I've watched them, and they're really good at making fires. They know how to make fires. So maybe I'll put them to work so they can share the fire making, and they don't have to worry about getting tired and like I did, looking after this fire alone, and they can keep each other company. So he called his grandchildren together. Wastam Nosimsak called his grandchildren. But right away he saw there was a problem, that his grandchildren, a young boy and a young girl, were kind of fighting, and they wouldn't get along, and he was thinking this isn't good. So he thought, maybe if I make them work together, they'll get along. So he said, okay, I want you guys to prove to me that you can make a good fire. So I'm going to, my grandson, I'm going to get you to make your fire, and my granddaughter, I'm going to get you to make your fire, and you'll watch them, and I'm going to see how good you can keep your fire going. So the young boy made his fire, and the young girl made her fire, but the whole while they were sort of fighting with each other. And the Muslim was watching them both, and he said, oh, this young boy, my grandson, makes a nice hot fire, good heat, good light, good fire. He's a good fire maker. Yeah, son, that's good. Then he looked at his granddaughter making the fire, and he saw that her fire was really low, but it was steady, and it was sort of calming and relaxing. Didn't give a lot of light and heat, but it was really calming and relaxing. He thought, well, yeah, son, that's good as well. Even if she keeps it steady and it doesn't change, that's, yeah, son, they're both good. And he thought, well, maybe I can get them both to make this fire, and the fire might change a little bit, but that's all right. And then he noticed that still his grandchildren were still fighting with each other, and they couldn't get along. So he said, grandchildren, I need you guys to take care of this fire that provides the heat and warmth for all Nihiawak, for all the people. And I need you to take care of this. You got to take this really seriously. You can't keep fighting all the time. I think the only way I'm going to be able to do this is to separate you guys. So for half the day, my grandson, you'll make the fire, and for half of the day, the other half of the day, granddaughter, you'll make the fire. But I don't want you guys even going near each other. Maybe once, maybe every once in a while, you guys can get together and see if you guys get along or not. But I think you guys need to stay away from each other. You can't be together. So I want you guys to make this fire now. And when grandson, I'm going to name you Kisagaw Pisem. That's what I'm going to call you from now on, Kisagaw Pisem. And every time you make the fire, you come and you make the fire, you watch it for the day, and then you leave. And then, granddaughter, I'm going to call you Tipskaw Pisem, or Moon. And your job is to come after Kisagaw Pisem leaves, you'll come and you'll tend the fire for half the day. And then from now on, you're going to be named Tipskaw Pisem. So I don't want you guys ever coming together. Maybe once out of every 52-week cycle, you guys can come together and meet and see each other and see if you get along. And if you don't get along, I don't want you guys seeing each other again for another year until you guys can learn to get along. But until that day, you guys take care of this fire. Don't come around the fire. Kisagaw Pisem, you're not allowed anywhere near this fire when Tipskaw Pisem is watching this fire. And Tipskaw Pisem, you're not allowed anywhere near this fire while Kisagaw Pisem is watching this fire. Understood? And that's the way it's going to be. Only once a year you guys can come together and see if you get along. So I'm going to watch this and see how this works. So the Musum, he sat back and he watched them and he told them to go through this cycle to see how it works. So first, Kisagaw Pisem came up and he made the fire. Oh, and it was nice and hot and there was good heat and lots of light, and the Musum was happy. Oh, this'll do the people good. All the Kakkeawe Sinuach they'll be happy with this because it's good light and good heat. And then it was time for Kisagaw Pisem to go away, so he left. And then Tipskaw Pisem, his granddaughter, came and she started watching the fire. And right away the fire started going smaller, well, not as much heat, very little light. But it was, Musum found that it was really calming and relaxing, even though it was very little light, and it really calmed his spirit and made him just feel relaxed. It was such a gentle light, gentle fire, gentle heat, not hot, but just warm. And Musum liked this. So he thought, this is how it'll be from now on. Not the way I used to make it, where there was bright fire all day, but this time of nice, lots of light, lots of heat, and then half the day, very little light and very little heat. I like the way this works because then people will have a chance to rest, and they won't be working all the time like they used to when I'd keep the fire going all day. And he thought that this would work good, so he watched them for this whole cycle and to see how this worked. And then it came the time of year where he allowed them to come together and he would watch them. And of course, his grandchildren, Kisagaw Pisem, and his granddaughter, Tipskaw Pisem, came together, and just like before, they started fighting right away. So he sent them away from each other again, and to continue this cycle. And he told them, we'll try this every year, and then for as long as you guys don't get along, it'll always be like this. You watch the fire half the day, and Tipskaw Pisem, you watch the fire half the day. So this is the way that we are told that this continues to go on, where we see throughout the day, where we get the warmth and the light coming from the fire that Kisagaw Pisem is making. And then for us, we call it towards evening when the light starts to get less and the heat starts to go away. We're taught that this is when Tipskauapism, or the moon, his granddaughter Moon, takes over the fire and watches the fire, and there's very little light, but it's a gentle, soothing, helps us to rest for half the day. And then for us, when the morning comes again, this is when Tipskauapism leaves, and her brother Kisagaupism takes over and watches that fire. And we're told when they were that time of the year when they're allowed to come together and see each other to see if they still don't get along. That's what we call the summer solstice, or the longest day of the year, when the only time of the year where we could clearly see Kisagaupism and Tipskauapism in the air together, and sometimes they cross during that time which is what we call an eclipse. But that's the only time of the year when they're able to come together at the same time. And our elders continue to tell us that it looks like they still can't get along, because we still have night and day continuing, and every year they come together to see if they get along. And let's hope that this continues, so that we continue to have these nice days where we can work, and these nice nights when we can rest. So this is the story of it's called the story of Iskutio, or the fire story, which tells of Kisagaupism and Tipskauapism. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you pass this on. Uksamaga.